I don't know where else to post this. I'm not looking for karma. I'm not writing a book. I just need to tell someone. Anyone. My name is Rachel, I'm 29 years old, and when I was 6, my twin brother Leo drowned in a lake near our childhood home. I was there when it happened. I still remember the sound of my mother screaming. The police divers pulling his body out. The way his little blue sneaker floated to shore 2 days later. The funeral. The empty seat at our dinner table. The silence that followed us for years. I remember all of it. Except the part where he went under. That part is just gone. For most of my life, I thought that was just how trauma worked. You forget things when they're too awful to keep. You bury them. I went to therapy. I moved out. I got a job in another city. I don't talk about Leo anymore. Not even with my mom. But now someone is texting me from a number I don't recognize. And they say they're Leo. Unknown number. Hi Ray. Do you remember the lake? You forgot. But I didn't. You said you'd never leave me. I thought it was a sick prank at first. A cruel coincidence. Maybe a scam. But no one calls me Ray anymore. That was his nickname for me. He used to whisper it in my ear when we played hide and seek, because he couldn't pronounce Rachel right. And the part that really made my stomach drop. The number isn't registered. No country code. Just grey text bubbles. No profile picture. No emoji reactions. I tried to call it, I got static, then silence. I texted back. Who is this? No reply. Seriously, who is this? This isn't funny. Then a picture came through. It was blurry. Grainy. Taken in dim light. But I recognized it immediately. It was my old bedroom from the house I grew up in. The wallpaper with faded stars. The wooden toy chest. The old stuffed bear Leo used to chew on. In the photo, the bear was sitting on my childhood bed. But I haven't been in that house in years. My mother moved out 2 summers ago. She sold the place. I was the one who helped her pack. That room was stripped down to the floorboards. The toy chest went to Goodwill. The wallpaper was peeled. The bear was thrown away. I watched it go into the trash. I felt dizzy. Cold. So I texted back. How did you get that photo? Who are you? Nothing. Hours went by. Then, at 3:17 a.m., another message came. Unknown number. I never left. Comment by OP. Some background, because I know people will ask. Yes, I'm sure Leo died. I saw his body. I touched his cold hand in the coffin. This isn't a Mandela effect thing or some long-lost twin situation. He died. And I've never believed in ghosts. Until now. Commenter, wait, are you sure no one else could have taken that photo? Like the new owners of the house. Real estate pics. Op. I thought of that too. So I checked Zillow. Realtor.com, all the usual places. There are a few old listings for our house, but none of them show the inside, just exterior shots. And even if they did, how would they know about Leo's bear? We threw that thing away in 2007. I watched it go into a black trash bag. This wasn't some stock photo. It was taken recently. I could tell from the digital timestamp embedded in the image, May 26, 2025. That was 3 days ago. Commenter. I don't want to freak you out, but this sounds like something that wants to pretend it's your brother. Don't engage. Op. Too late. I already did. And now things are getting worse. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept the light on, sat on my bed with a kitchen knife in my lap, just in case. I felt stupid. Paranoid. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. At exactly 3:17 a.m. again, my bedroom door creaked. It's a small apartment. No pets. No roommates. The door was locked. But it moved. Like someone was pushing it from the other side. I walked over, heart pounding. Opened it. No one was there. But there were wet footprints on the hardwood floor. Small ones. Child-sized. Leading toward my bed. Commenter, this is giving me full body chills. Wet footprints. Girl, you need to move. Op. I took a photo of them. I'll post it if I can blur some personal stuff. I tried wiping them up, but the moisture kept reappearing for hours. I even used a blow dryer. I checked the ceiling, no leaks. I live on the 3rd floor of an apartment building. It hasn't rained in days. I finally fell asleep sometime after dawn. When I woke up, there was another message. Unknown number. Come back to the lake. You promised. That word again, promised. I didn't remember making any promises. I was 6. What kind of promises could I have made? So I went digging. Through my old journals, my therapy notebooks, even a showbox of drawings and letters I kept from when I was a kid. That's when I found something. A crumpled piece of paper with shaky handwriting. Mine. Block letters in purple crayon. I promise I won't let you sink. It hit me like a train. I must have written it before he died. Or after. I don't remember doing it. But it's my handwriting. My old stationery. Folded 100 times like I'd hidden it somewhere deep. I started crying. I don't know why. Maybe guilt. Maybe fear. I felt like I was 6 again, powerless and small. Then another message came in. Unknown number. You lied. Commenter, you should go back to the lake. Maybe you need closure. Op. That's the thing. I haven't been there since the day Leo died. Not once. I always thought it was because of the trauma. But now I'm starting to think I wasn't supposed to go back. My mom sold the house. But the lake's still there. And today I bought a train ticket. Op. I'll post another update once I get there. I don't know what I'm looking for. But maybe, just maybe, I'll find a reason why my dead twin brother is texting me. And why I feel like I'm the one who never left. I'm back from the lake. I still don't know what's real and what isn't. I'm writing this with shaking hands, no sleep, and the kind of headache that feels like someone's whispering directly into your brain. But I said I'd update. So here I am. I took the 6:10 a.m. train to a small town I haven't set foot in since I was 6. Everything smelled different. Smaller. Like the town had aged without me. Even the wind off the lake carried something rotten beneath the pine needles. My childhood home was a few miles from the station. I didn't go there, it's someone else's house now. Instead, I walked straight to the lake. It looked exactly the same. That glassy surface. The crooked wooden dock. The weeping willow with its branches like fingers. The water was still and black, the color of oil. I almost turned back. Until my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. You're here. I knew you'd come back. I swear I could hear his voice behind me when I read it. I stood at the edge of the lake for a long time. Trying to remember. Trying to be 6 years old again. But the memory wouldn't come. Only flashes. A scream. A splash. My mother's face, contorted with grief. And a hand. Reaching for me from below the surface. I know that doesn't make sense. Leo drowned. I didn't. But I swear I remember that hand grabbing my ankle, or maybe I imagined it. I thought if I walked out onto the dock, I'd feel something. And I did. About halfway down, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. You're standing where I died. Look down. I froze. And I looked. The wood beneath my feet was old, grey, and damp. But there was something else. Carved into the boards with a pocket knife or a nail. Crude letters scratched into the grain. Ray plus Leo equals forever. I gasped. I had no memory of carving it. Then I noticed something beside it. A second message. More recent. The wood was fresher, like it had been scraped recently. It said, Liar. Commenter. Opie, this is chilling. Are you sure no one followed you? Op. No one followed me. I was completely alone. There were no boats. No kids. No one even walking a dog. It was a Wednesday morning in the middle of nowhere. But the moment I saw that second carving, I felt watched. Like the trees had eyes. Like the lake wanted to speak. And then the air changed. I didn't believe in ghosts before this. Not really. But when the wind stopped and the water started to ripple outward in perfect, concentric circles, with no stones, no breeze, no reason, I felt something I've never felt before. Not fear. Recognition. Like something in that water knew me. Had waited for me. That's when I heard it. A splash. Followed by a giggle. A child's giggle. It came from under the dock. Commenter. Nope. 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 I would have run. Op. I did. Or I tried to. But as I turned to leave, something grabbed my ankle. Hard. It was ice cold. Slimy. Like a hand that had been underwater too long. I screamed, twisted around, but there was no one there. Just water. I scrambled back to shore, panting, soaked. My jeans were wet up to the knee, even though I'd never stepped into the lake. I looked back at the dock. A small figure stood at the edge. It looked like a boy. Barefoot. Pale. Dripping wet. He was maybe 6 years old. Wearing a striped shirt. The same one Leo wore the day he died. But the face wasn't right. It was smooth. Like someone had taken a face and stretched it over a blank canvas. The eyes were too big. The mouth too wide. And even from that distance, I could see that the skin was bloated and greenish blue. He tilted his head at me. And waved. Unknown number. Why did you let me drown? Commenter. This is turning into something demonic. This thing isn't your brother. Op. I don't know what it is. But I don't think it wants me dead. Not yet. It wants me to remember. After that, I ran. All the way back to the station. I didn't stop for water, didn't check my phone again until I was on the train. I sat by the window, staring at my reflection in the glass, and noticed something. There was a handprint on my shoulder. A small, wet, child-sized handprint. When I got home, my inbox was full of texts. Unknown number. We were playing a game. Do you remember the rules? One hides. One seeks. You never looked for me. Let's play again. Commenter. Opie, have you considered the possibility that something happened before your brother drowned? Something worse? Op. Yes. And that's what scares me the most. I started digging through old records. Police reports. Hospital documents. I even called my mom. She didn't want to talk about it. Said I was opening doors that should stay shut. But I pushed. I told her about the texts. The lake. The handprint. Everything. That's when she started crying. And then she told me something I never knew. Leo didn't drown. Not exactly. He was pushed. Update. I thought I was prepared to hear the truth. I thought the worst was behind me. I was wrong. After I pressed my mom, hard, about what really happened at the lake, she finally agreed to meet in person. We met at a coffee shop near her apartment. She looked older than I remembered. More tired. Like she'd been carrying a secret for too long. She didn't touch her drink. The first thing she said was, I prayed you'd never remember. I just stared at her. What do you mean? She wouldn't meet my eyes. You and Leo were playing hide and seek that day. Just like always. Only, something changed. I felt it before she even said it. You were fighting, she whispered. You were jealous. You thought I loved him more. Commenter. Wait, is this going where I think it's going? Op. Yeah, it is. She told me we were both by the edge of the dock when it happened. According to her, Leo found me too quickly during our game. I got mad. Pushed him. She said I screamed his name the moment he hit the water. But here's the thing, Leo couldn't swim. Neither could I. She ran as fast as she could, but by the time she reached the dock, he was already under. And I was standing there, staring down into the lake like I didn't understand what I'd done. Commenter. That doesn't sound like the kind of memory you'd forget. Op. You're right. But trauma does weird things. I was 6. My brain decided it was safer to forget. Except maybe it didn't forget. Maybe it buried it. And maybe something else remembered for me. After she told me, my mom just started crying. People were staring. She didn't care. I couldn't move. I sat there, frozen, remembering the text. Why did you let me drown? It wasn't a question. It was an accusation. I went home. Locked every door. Turned off every light. And then I got a new message. Unknown number. She finally told you. Good. Now we can play for real. I'm hiding again. Come find me. Commenter. No. Hell no. That's a trap. Op. I know. But I couldn't stop myself. I didn't even remember packing. But when I came to, I was driving. Somewhere deep into the woods, farther than the lake, to an old trailhead we used to visit as a family. It was dusk. The sun dipped low, bleeding red through the pine trees. I parked my car, and the second I stepped out, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Cold. Colder. He was playing the game again. Hide and seek. I walked into the woods. The trees whispered. The air felt thick and wet, like I was walking into the mouth of something alive. And I could hear him. Giggling. Somewhere ahead. Always ahead. Unknown number. Warm. Warmer. I started seeing things. Little pieces of clothing. A wet sock. A rusted toy car. A child's drawing pinned to a tree with something sharp. Each one was familiar. Each one, his. Commenter. This is like breadcrumbing from the other side. Op. Exactly. The path narrowed until it wasn't a path anymore. Just moss and rot. But I couldn't stop. I needed to find him. That's when I heard the splash. I pushed through the last of the branches and found myself at another lake. Not the same one. Smaller. Blacker. Silent as a grave. There was a dock here too. One I don't remember. It looked impossibly old, covered in moss and decay. And at the end of it was a small, dripping boy. He was sitting on the edge, swinging his legs over the water. Just like he used to. He looked up at me and smiled. This time, his face was clearer. It was Leo. But wrong. His eyes were too dark. Hollow. His skin was cracked in places. Like porcelain stretched too thin. But his voice when he spoke, it was exactly as I remembered it. You finally came. Commenter. Why would you even walk toward him? Op. Because part of me thought, maybe if I could just talk to him, say sorry, it would stop. I stepped onto the dock. Slowly. I didn't mean to, I said. He tilted his head. You pushed me, he whispered. I was a kid, I pleaded. I didn't understand. You laughed. My blood ran cold. You laughed when I fell. That. I don't remember. But something deep inside me twisted when he said it. Leo, please. He stood. His mouth opened too wide. Water poured out. His eyes rolled back. You let me sink. He lunged at me. I turned and ran. The dock cracked beneath me. I felt something cold and slimy wrap around my wrist. I screamed. Kicked. Tore away. Whatever was holding me let go. I didn't stop running until I reached the car. Back home now. Arm still burns where it touched me. There are tiny bruises in the shape of fingers. But here's the worst part. When I turned on my phone again, there was a video. It showed me, 6 years old, standing on the dock. Leo runs up behind me, laughing, tagging me. Then I turn, fast, angry. I shove him. He falls, flailing. And I smile. Update. I haven't slept since the woods. It's been 2 nights. My lights stay on, every room. I keep the TV going too. Something about having sound makes it feel less like I'm being watched. But it doesn't help. Because I am being watched. I can feel it. I live on the 4th floor of an apartment building. I have one small window in my living room that looks out over the street. There's no fire escape, no ledge, no balcony. But last night, I woke up and the window was open. Wide open. The screen was gone. Not damaged. Just missing. Commenter. That's not possible. Someone would have needed a ladder or to rappel up the wall or something. Are you sure you didn't open it yourself and forget? Op. No. I don't sleepwalk. I checked the building's security footage this morning. The outside camera is pointed right at my wall. Nothing. No one came or left. And yet, the screen's gone. And there was mud under the window. Wet footprints. Bare. Small. I tried to tell myself maybe I brought it back with me. The trauma. The guilt. That I was spiraling. Maybe my brain is trying to punish me with hallucinations. But that illusion shattered at 3:12 a.m. That's when the next message came in. Do you remember the way I looked when I went under? I do. I see it every time I blink. Want to see it too? I didn't answer. But my phone vibrated again. It was a picture. Of me. Sleeping. Commenter. Nope. Burn the phone. Burn the apartment. You need help, dude. Real help. Op. It gets worse. The photo was taken from inside my room. The angle was low, like whoever took it was crouching by the foot of my bed. I checked my front door, locked. Window, still open. And on the floor, muddy footprints, the same size as before, leading from the window to my bed. Then disappearing. Gone. Not a drop outside the bedroom. Just there. Like whatever it was, came just to watch. I called the cops. They came, did a sweep. Found nothing. They were polite but clearly thought I was losing it. They even hinted at psych evils. I didn't tell them about the texts. Or the videos. Or the body. Commenter. Body? What body? Op. Right. I didn't post about that. I wasn't sure I should. But screw it. When I left the woods after the last update, I noticed something weird in my trunk. A smell. Sharp. Sweet. Wrong. I thought maybe an animal got in. But when I opened it, nothing. Just my emergency kit and an old flashlight. Then yesterday, I heard it again. That muffled sound, like knocking from inside the trunk. It was happening while I was driving. I pulled over. Opened it again. Still nothing. But now the smell is stronger. Like rot and pond water. And then today. I found hair. Clumps of black, wet hair tangled under the jack. I haven't touched it. I don't know what's real anymore. I don't know if I'm losing my mind or if this is really happening. I didn't kill my brother on purpose. I swear. But maybe that doesn't matter to him. Because he's not playing hide and seek anymore. He's here now. And he's watching me. I tried to leave. Packed a bag. Booked a hotel 3 cities away. But as I pulled out of my parking lot, my phone buzzed. Leaving already? That's okay. I'm already in the back seat. Commenter. I think I just had a panic attack reading that. Did you check? Was anyone there? Op. I slammed on the brakes so hard I nearly wrecked. Jumped out. Checked the back seat. Empty. Of course it was empty. But the seat was wet. Like something had been dripping. And the muddy footprints were back. On the upholstery. Same size. Same spacing. Like a child had been sitting right behind me. Watching. I called my mom. I needed to hear her voice. I needed something real to hold on to. She didn't answer at first. When she finally did, she sounded off. Distant. Hollow. I asked if she was okay. She said something I'll never forget. He came to see me. I said, "Who?" "Leo." Then she hung up. I've tried calling her 20 times since. No answer. Commenter. Go check on her. Right now. You might be scared but she's alone too. Please. Op. I'm heading over now. If anything happens, I'll post again. If I can. But before I go, he sent me another message just now. One line. You're almost it. I think that means something. And I think I don't have much time left. Update. I drove to my mom's place in a daze. The neighborhood was quiet, unnervingly so, like even the birds had stopped singing. The streetlights flickered as if struggling to stay alive, and the wind whispered through the trees with a strange, hollow sound. Her house was the same one I grew up in, small, cozy, and filled with memories that now felt like shards of glass stabbing me every time I thought about them. But something was wrong. From the moment I pulled up, a feeling of dread pressed down on me like a suffocating weight. The door was cracked open. Just a little. I called out her name, my voice trembling. No answer. Inside, the air was stale and heavy, smelling faintly of decay and damp wood. My footsteps echoed as I walked cautiously through the dimly lit rooms, heart hammering in my chest. The living room was a mess. Chairs overturned, papers scattered across the floor like leaves in a storm. I saw something glinting near the fireplace. It was her phone, shattered screen lit up with a new message. The message read, "You can't save her." I wanted to scream, but my throat closed up. I rushed toward the kitchen, where the back door stood wide open. Muddy footprints led from the door to the sink, small, wet, and unmistakably the same as the ones in my apartment and the car. The blood. That's what caught my attention next. A thin trail of dark red smeared along the wooden floorboards, leading to the basement door. I hesitated. Every instinct told me to run, but I knew I couldn't leave her alone. Not like this. I grabbed a flashlight from the counter and crept down the stairs. The basement was cold and damp, the walls covered in peeling paint and spiderwebs. The beam from my flashlight flickered over a scene that will haunt me forever. There, sprawled on the floor, was my mom. Her eyes wide open, staring blankly at the ceiling. Her skin was deathly pale, and bruises marked her neck and arms. Clutched in her trembling hand was a scrap of paper soaked with tears. I knelt beside her, my hands shaking as I tried to wake her. She whispered, barely audible. "He's here. Leo's here." Then she passed out. I called 911 immediately, but as I waited for help, my phone buzzed again. This time, a video. I stared in horror as the grainy footage showed a shadowy figure standing behind me in the basement, a small boy's face flickering in and out of view, wet hair plastered to his forehead, eyes empty yet burning with rage. The last frame showed him reaching out, his hand almost touching the camera before everything went black. I dropped my phone and screamed. That's where I'm at now. Mom is in the hospital, unconscious but stable. The police are involved, but they haven't found any signs of forced entry or a suspect. But I know who it is. And I know he's not done with me yet. The sterile smell of the hospital hit me like a wave of nausea the moment I stepped inside. The bright fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows on the walls, making every corner feel like a lurking threat. I clutched my phone in my hand, fingers tightening around it as if it could somehow protect me. My mom was in the ICU, hooked up to machines that beeped rhythmically, trying to keep her alive. The doctors told me she was stable but unconscious, and that they had no idea what caused her injuries. No signs of an attack, no explanation for the bruises. But I knew. I knew. I sat beside her bed, watching her pale face, willing her to wake up. But the silence in the room was suffocating. Then my phone vibrated. I almost dropped it. The message was short. She's closer now. Closer. Closer to what? To me. To death. To whatever hell I was already living through. Suddenly, the hospital lights flickered and the monitors beeped erratically. I looked up sharply. The door to the ICU room creaked open, but no one was there. A cold breeze brushed past me, and I felt a presence, heavy, suffocating, impossible to ignore. Then, my phone lit up again. A video. This time it was live footage, from inside the hospital room. The camera was positioned near my mom's bed, and just at the edge of the frame, I saw it, a small figure standing in the corner. A boy. Wet hair, pale skin, empty eyes filled with hatred. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. Suddenly, the video feed cut off. My heart pounded as I tried to steady my breath. What was happening? Was I hallucinating? Or was Leo really here, somehow crossing into this world? I wanted to run, to escape this nightmare, but I was rooted to the spot. When the nurse came in to check on us, I almost screamed, but I forced myself to keep quiet. I had to protect my mom. I had to protect myself. But I didn't know how much longer I could hold on before everything fell apart. After that night at the hospital, I hardly slept. Every shadow in the room seemed to stretch and twist into something sinister. Every sound, a cough, a beep, the rustling of sheets, set my nerves on edge. I kept my phone close, half expecting Leo's messages to come flooding in again. But for a while, it was quiet. Too quiet. The doctors insisted my mom's injuries had no clear cause, and they refused to speculate. The police asked their usual questions but had no leads. I felt completely alone. So I did what I thought was crazy. I decided to look into my family's medical records, especially my mom's. The hospital records office was a small, dimly lit room in the basement of the hospital, filled with filing cabinets and the faint smell of old paper. The clerk looked at me like I was a ghost when I asked for my mom's full records, but after I explained I was her son and needed the information, she gave me a folder with a reluctant sigh. I took it back to my mom's room and began reading. Most of it was routine, checkups, vaccinations, nothing unusual. Then I found something odd. A note, buried in the middle of her last visit 6 months ago, that read, "Patient reports vivid hallucinations of deceased twin brother appearing in home. Claims to receive messages from Leo. Family history of childhood trauma." That note was signed by a psychiatrist. My breath caught. I never knew my mom saw a psychiatrist. I never knew she was haunted by my brother's death too. Then, I found a series of old letters and scribbled journal entries tucked into the folder. I read them carefully. Leo is always watching. He's angry, and I'm scared he will come back. I don't know how to stop him. My mom's handwriting was shaky, her words fragmented, but the terror was clear. It was like she was trying to warn me. The last journal entry was the most chilling. He is in the house. I can feel his breath on my neck. He's not the boy I remember. I'm afraid for my life. I realized then that my mom had been living in fear long before I found those messages. I thought maybe she was losing her mind. But after everything I'd seen, I wasn't so sure. That night, back in my apartment, the feeling of being watched was unbearable. I barely slept, and when I did, I dreamt of Leo, not as the child I remembered, but as something twisted and malevolent. The text started again. You can't hide. I'm inside you now. I was starting to panic. I couldn't tell reality from nightmare anymore. So I did the only thing I could think of. I tried to confront him. I texted back. What do you want from me? The reply was instant. You. And then, everything broke. My phone glitched violently, the screen flickering, static crackling like it was about to explode. The lights in my apartment flickered too, plunging me into darkness before the emergency bulbs kicked in. Then I heard it. A sound I can't describe, like a child laughing, but twisted and hollow, echoing through the walls. I grabbed my phone and ran to the door, trying to get out. But it slammed shut in my face. I tried the windows, locked. I was trapped. Then my phone buzzed again. A message popped up. You can't leave. The next few hours were a blur. I don't know how long I was locked in that apartment, but the presence was everywhere. The air was thick, suffocating. Shadows shifted in impossible ways. The laughter came and went, sometimes right behind me, sometimes just out of sight. I swear I saw Leo standing in the corner at one point, his eyes glowing faintly in the dark, his mouth twisted into a cruel smile. He didn't say anything, just watched. When the lights finally stabilized and the door unlocked itself, I ran outside without looking back. I don't know what happened or why it happened. But I know one thing for sure. Leo isn't just a ghost or a memory. He's something else. Something darker. Something hungry. I'm writing this now from a friend's place, somewhere safe for now. But I'm running out of time. He said I'm almost it. Almost what? I don't know. But I'm terrified. If anyone's out there, if anyone's dealt with something like this, please, help me. Update. I'm not sure how much longer I can hold on. Every day that passes feels like a countdown to something inevitable, something terrible. Since escaping my apartment, I've been staying with my friend Mark. He doesn't know the full story, just enough to know I'm terrified and need a place to crash. I'm grateful, but even here, the darkness clings to me like a shadow I can't shake. The messages have gotten worse. They're no longer just texts on my phone. They show up in places I shouldn't be able to see them. I'll explain. The first time it happened was 2 days ago. I was sitting in Mark's living room, trying to focus on a book, when I glanced down at the coffee table. There, scrawled in what looked like fresh ink, were the words, "You're next." I blinked. Tried to convince myself I was seeing things. But then I realized the ink was wet. Fresh. And I hadn't touched a pen. The next day, I found similar messages scratched into the bathroom mirror. You can't run. I tried to clean it off, but it just reappeared. Every time I wiped it, it came back, darker and more menacing. Last night was the worst. I woke up to my phone buzzing on the bedside table. A new message. Only this time, it wasn't from a number. It was from me. The text read, "Look behind you." I froze. My heart slammed against my ribs like a wild animal. I slowly turned my head. Nothing. Just the dark room, empty and silent. Then I saw it. A reflection in the window. A small figure, pale, soaked hair plastered to his face, eyes black pits that sucked the light in. Leo. I screamed and threw the phone across the room. It shattered against the wall, but the image stayed burned into my mind. Mark didn't believe me when I told him what I saw. He said it was sleep paralysis, hallucinations, stress. Maybe he's right. But I don't think so. Because tonight, it happened again. I was in the kitchen, pouring a glass of water, when I felt it, cold breath on the back of my neck. I spun around. No one. But then I heard the whisper. Soon. I'm losing my grip. The lines between reality and nightmare are fading. Sometimes I see Leo's face in crowds, in reflections, in dreams. I catch glimpses of him lurking just out of sight. Waiting. Watching. I found an old photo album in my mom's things when I visited the hospital earlier. There were pictures of me and Leo when we were kids. Smiling, happy, unaware of the darkness that would follow. One photo caught my eye. It was Leo standing in the doorway of our old house. But the house looked wrong. The windows were blackened out, the sky above was a strange, unnatural grey. Leo's eyes were empty. I don't know what this all means. If Leo is some kind of ghost, demon, or something else, I don't care. I just want it to stop. But I don't think it will. Tonight, I'm going to try something desperate. I found an old ritual online, some kind of banishing ceremony meant to rid a place or person of a malevolent spirit. I don't believe in that stuff. But what choice do I have? I'm at the edge of everything I know. And if I don't try, I'm afraid I'll lose myself completely. If this is the last post you see from me, know that I fought. I'm scared. But I'm not giving up. I spent all day preparing. The ritual was complex, drawn from some ancient text I found buried in an obscure forum about spirits and hauntings. The instructions were vague, but I hoped it was enough. Anything to stop this nightmare. Mark helped me gather the supplies: salt, candles, a black obsidian knife, sage, and a worn leather-bound book that looked older than anything I'd ever touched. The book was in Latin, but the instructions I'd found translated the important parts. I didn't know if I believed in any of it. Never did. But fear had a way of making you desperate, and this was my last shot. We set up a circle in my friend's living room. Salt sprinkled carefully in a perfect ring around us. Candles flickered, casting jittery shadows on the walls. The air was thick with sage smoke. I began reading the incantation, my voice shaking at first but growing steadier. The words felt heavy in my mouth, like swallowing stones. Mark sat silently, eyes wide with worry. Halfway through, the temperature dropped sharply. My breath fogged in front of me. The candles flickered violently. I heard a low growl, a sound that didn't belong to this world. Then, the shadows stretched, twisting, writhing, forming shapes. The shape of a boy. Leo. His eyes glowed red in the darkness. "You cannot banish me," he hissed, voice echoing like it came from beneath the earth. I gripped the obsidian knife tighter. The book's words flowed over me as I continued the chant. The circle of salt began to shimmer. Suddenly, Leo lunged at me. His form blurred, shifting between a boy and something monstrous, with elongated fingers and a mouth full of jagged teeth. I felt a cold blast knock me backward, slamming me against the wall. Mark shouted something, but the words were lost in the chaos. The candles blew out. Total darkness swallowed us. I thought I was dead. Then, a sudden, blinding light exploded from the circle. The air crackled like electricity. Leo screamed, a terrible, soul-shaking sound, and vanished. When the light faded, I was alone in the room. Mark was on the floor, unconscious but alive. The circle of salt was glowing faintly. The candles were half melted but relit themselves. I don't know if the ritual worked or if I just imagined it. But I don't feel Leo's presence anymore. For the first time in weeks, I felt safe. But the silence is unsettling. Because now, I'm waiting for the next move. Waiting for Leo to come back. I know he will. And when he does, I don't know if I'll be ready. The days after the ritual were strange, almost peaceful. For the first time in months, I slept through the night without nightmares. No messages. No eerie sounds. No cold breath on my neck. Mark said the whole thing must have been some elaborate psychological break. He thinks the ritual worked because I believed it would. But I don't know if it's over. Because last night, I got the strangest feeling. Like Leo never really left. I woke up to a noise. Not in my friend's apartment, in my head. A whisper that felt like ice crawling inside my skull. It's not over. I sat up, heart hammering. The room was dark, but a faint red glow flickered from the corner. I stared. The glow grew, coalescing into a shape. Leo. But not like before. He looked human, almost peaceful. "You think this ends with fire and salt?" he asked quietly. "You don't understand. You never did." His voice was soft but carried a terrifying weight. I wanted to run. But something held me in place. He stepped closer. "I'm a part of you. Always was." I shook my head, fighting back tears. "No. You're not real. You're a nightmare." Leo's face twisted, pain and anger bleeding through his eyes. Do you know why I'm here? I shook my head again. Because I never left. He reached out and touched my forehead. Suddenly, memories flooded me. Memories I had buried deep. The accident, the way I had blamed myself. The silence that followed. The guilt. I'm the part of you that won't forgive, Leo whispered. The part that carries the pain. I collapsed to my knees, overwhelmed. All this time, I thought Leo was a monster outside me. But he was inside. The spirit, the hauntings, the messages, they were echoes of my own guilt and grief. A twisted, living reminder of what I had lost. I begged him, cried out for peace. And slowly, his form began to fade. Let me go, I whispered. I want to be free. And in the quiet that followed, I finally felt something I hadn't in a long time. Relief. The next morning, I visited my mom at the hospital. We talked, really talked, about Leo, about the past, about the pain we'd carried alone. For the first time, we faced it together. I'm not sure if the darkness is truly gone. Maybe grief never fully disappears. But now, I know I'm not alone. Leo was never just a ghost or a demon. He was a part of me, and maybe that's the scariest thing of all. Thank you for reading.